To be honest, Jeff, I don't really give two hoots about this game. All my thoughts have been with my home region in Hawke's Bay. Just devastating to see what's happened to my beautiful region, and probably no one's watching it from there at the moment because they can't. And I just really want to encourage New Zealanders. I don't know if people really realise how bad it is down there, and far out, just really want our country to get behind my little region and donate where they can. Because, yeah, geez, it's been a tough week, mate, so I'm glad the game's over.
Kia ora koutou katoa, no mai, haere mai. Hello and welcome to the breakdown for 2023. Yes, whether it's here in New Zealand or across the globe, like I say, the devastation last year, a year ago, it was COVID. We were still amongst that, but now Sir John Kerwin, Taylor Johnson, JK, just the devastation that Cyclone Gabrielle has left across a lot of the North Island, dealing with it once again. And Brad Weber said it so well. There is so much support, and anyone, if they can, should help and give as generously as we can to support the people who are suffering right now. Yeah, the generosity of New Zealanders always makes me incredibly humble and proud. It's going to be really tough times, and from a mental health point of view, make sure you reach out and get help. You know, government has places you can go. You can download the free Groove app, talk to people. It's going to be a really hard time. They say it's like grieving after such devastation. You know, we've lost lives, we've lost properties, and it's going to be, everyone's going to face it in their own way, but it's just so important to stick together, reach out, talk to people, get the help you need.
And like Brad said, it's much bigger than rugby at the moment, what's happening here in New Zealand. And the Chiefs actually are having some fundraisers going on Trade Me. They're selling off some of their jerseys worn by Damien McKenzie and some of the Manawa players. And the Moana Pacifica versus Fiji and Drua game is also a fundraiser for all the cyclone victims, and also acknowledging the first responders who have done an amazing job and are suffering too. We just want some normal though, right? We just want some normal, and hopefully we are going to get that. We did have some normal over this weekend though, and we have to pass on a congratulations to our very own, and I'm only temporary in this seat hosting the show tonight, because Kirsty Stanway, a massive congratulations. Kirsty got married yesterday. So Mills got the invite, so did Joey Wheeler. Mills still wanted to be on the show, so he recorded something for us.
Hey guys, well, I'm at this beautiful place in Aotearoa, celebrating a very, very special person's big day. I'm not too sure if you guys know her, Kirsty Stanway. She's host of The Breakdown, Sky Sport presenter. I made the cut, you boys! Yeah. Anyway, I know you got a big show ahead tonight. JK, can you please ask him, when are they going to put us out of our misery and name the All Black coach post-2023? Have a good day.
Champagne, sir?
Oh, what's that, sorry?
Champagne?
Oh, why not? Sorry, guys, champagne's on the roll.
Good for some, right? Do you know who the coach is?
Of course I know who the coach is.
We're not going to get into that just yet. You can wait till part two. You can wait till part two. Great news, though. Great news. Kirsty, Gareth get married. So cool, so cool. I can't wait to see her.
Absolutely, and she looks so beautiful on the day as well, as we would expect. So, yeah, congratulations to Kirsty and Gareth.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I tell you what, it is a massive, massive season. So much for us to look forward to. We're going to go through now. And around the grounds, remember that, JK? When you started looking through the 80s, you'd have to listen to the wireless. Well, what we're doing now, we're going across the Super Rugby teams based in New Zealand. First and foremost, though, we're going to start with the Blues and how they shape up going into the season.
The Blues enter 2023 with the strongest side they've had in decades. Last year's losing finalists welcome back captain Patrick Tuipulotu to the pack and boast an in-form loose trio led by Dalton Papali'i. Bodie's Super Rugby swan song will have him running the cutter for a world-class backline. The loss of Carl Tuinukuafe will force a rethink in the prop rotation. Struggles at line-out an area for growth, with Josh Goodhue leaving a 2-metre tall hole to fill. A baptism of fire beckons for the Blues, with the Landers, Brumbies, Crusaders and Canes their first 4 opponents to open the season.
There's only one place to start, and JK, he made sure it was with the Blues. So we're going to go inside the camp. We're going to go with Stephen Bates. Batesy, we're going to ask you straight up, mate, and I know you're inside. You're coming into the season with confidence. Pure and simple, why are you going to and are capable of winning the Super Rugby Pacific title with the Blues?
Look at the squad we've got, mate. Short and sweet. That's what the answer is, Goldie.
Righto, Batesy. I got a question for you. Who's playing first five?
Well, I won't be picking them, mate, but I'd imagine Bowden will be playing first five.
Where does that leave people like Stephen Perofeta, Zan Sullivan? We saw Ratumai Tavuki Nepkins as well, and Tui Vasashek playing at fullback too. So where do they go? Are they on the bench or are they at fullback?
Well, I suppose, you know, and obviously it's not a decision that I make, but you'd imagine Bowden would probably start at 10 and Stevie at 15, but what we all know is that the All Blacks can't play more than 5 games in a row. So it's going to be not going to be one person stuck there for the whole campaign. They're going to have to chop and change, and how they do that will be interesting. But I'd imagine that Stevie will do some time at fullback. He'll do some time at 10 as well. And then maybe, as you mentioned, Zan Sullivan as well. And there's a young fella, Jock McKenzie, that might spend a bit of time there. So it's going to be an interesting sort of competition because of the rules around the All Blacks. It's going to be a little bit of a revolving door in certain positions.
Batesy, just lastly, just quickly, you've got 4 derbies to start with. The start's going to be really important in this competition. But pure and simply, what's different this year than last year that'll give you the ability to get that one step closer, one step further and win a title?
Yeah, no, I suppose the Blues have got to get there first and foremost, and there's a long way to go for that to happen. You know, there's plenty of other teams, and you know, there's some good depth in all squads. So first and foremost, the Blues have got to be able to get there. But I suppose that if they are, and I use the word fortunate enough to get there, because you're fortunate to be in a final, I suppose that experience of actually getting there and probably not getting the job done will be valuable for the squad, because what you do know is a lot of the squad is back. You know, there ain't many changes when you go through the losses and the wins for the Blues. So that experience of not getting the job done, and not only just losing, but probably playing the way they played, and they would have been disappointed in the way, I know they were disappointed in the way they played, and they would have taken a lot of learning from that. So, you know, if they're fortunate to get there, they've got that little bit of experience of what it's like to have to perform on the big stage.
Batesy, I love it. Thanks so much. Under-deliver but over-perform? Is that what? No. Over-deliver and underperform? No, you're not trying to do that either. I'm not sure what it is you're trying to do. You've given us very little. JK's going to follow you up. All right, mate, we look forward to seeing you during the season.
Cheers, man. Thank you.
Righto, so John Kirwan, tell us why you're going to win. Because pure and simply, you think you're going to, and we know you're going to celebrate the Blues' performances regardless of what happens.
Well, I think the depth of the squad is probably the biggest thing. When I look at some of the difficulties, let's look at Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, right? One of the best players in the world. Came to rugby union, we're hoping he's going to settle in a position, and now they're talking about him playing 14, playing 12, playing 15 just to make the All Black World Cup squad. Is that a positive or negative for the Blues? Where's he going to settle? So I think the depth of the Blues squad and the hurt of last year will put them up there, I think, Taylor.
Yeah, I think it's disruptive for the Blues back home when you look at it, because they do have a lot of depth in the outside. You know, you've got Caleb Clark, you've got AJ Lamb, you've got Mark Talea, all really good players. And then the fact that they're trying to find another position for Roger, you know, we saw him on the wing playing for Auckland, now we saw him playing fullback. So there's a whole lot you know, up in the air when it does come to Roger. It's been a long time since the All Blacks have picked just a straight 12. You've got to be more than one position now.
Well, in the pre-season, he played some time at fullback and he looked really, really sharp. It is thick and fast here tonight. We've got a number of teams to get through. This weekend, the first round, it's the Blues. They're taking on the Highlanders in Dunedin. Let's take at the Highlanders campaign coming up.
It's the end of an era for the Highlanders. Aaron Smith and Shannon Frizzell depart for Japan in 2024. Thomas Umaga Jensen is back fit and healthy though, and ready to build on his breakout season. He and the long-injured lumberjack Pari Parkinson will be key to their success. After only 4 wins last year, new coach Clark Dermody will need his young guns to fire, using the likes of Fabian Holland, Nikora Broughton and Cam Miller sooner rather than later. Speaking of tough starts, the Highlanders get the brunt of it with a gladiatorial first 3 games against the Blues, Crusaders and Chiefs.
Look, I know it was a tough 2022 for the Highlanders, but Joey Wheeler is our Southern correspondent. We know him so well. Joey, tell me why. Things are going to be different this season. 2023, how do we go about it? How do we win a Super Rugby title in Dunedin once again?
We're due, Goldie. We're due big time. I actually think this is our one opportunity for a long time, since 2015. Obviously, World Cup years impact those bigger squads with bigger All Black numbers more so than the little old Highlanders, who will only have to rest 3 All Blacks throughout the season. So they've got a real chance, I believe, in that squad, if they stay healthy, to build some real momentum throughout the year to get those combinations and make a real push. I think there's going to have to be a lot of luck go their way, mate, for them to be there or thereabouts. But I genuinely think that they will be a quarterfinal contender, and then finals footy, as we know, they can go anyone's way, mate. And hopefully, with the momentum that the Highlanders would have built throughout the year, it'll go the Highlanders' way.
So, first Voce di Corridoio of the season, Joey. Voices of the corridor, mate.
Good to see you.
I heard. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you, mate.
Sharp.
You sound a bit dusty, but that's all good.
No, I wouldn't say dusty. Just you never regret a good time, Sir John, and it was a good time at Kirsty's do. And I'm glad we got out of there. Glad we got out of there today, because things are starting to turn.
So, mate, listen, Voce di Corridoio, someone told me that you were driving back from Queenstown a few months ago and Freddie Burns was on holiday because he retired 3 years ago. You picked him up and you signed him on the way to Dunedin. Is that true or false?
I'll claim that, mate. You know, we like to give everyone hope down in the Deep South. But I enjoy this recruitment. I think Freddie's still got something to offer. We saw that in the premiership with the way he led the Leicester Tigers and what he's done up in Japan as well when he was up there a couple of years ago. So I think Freddie's going to add a different dimension. I think he's going to keep Mitch Hunt on his toes. Obviously, Marty Banks is there as well, but Marty's been struggling with an adductor strain. So how much we see of him, I don't know. But we got 3 really experienced 10s there, and then a young cat in the name of Cam Miller who's waiting in the wings as well. So I think if Mitch Hunt, obviously, I believe goes into the season still as number 1, even though he hasn't played a lot of footy over the last sort of 8 to 10 months, I still think if he can get towards his best form, like we saw a couple of years ago, then I think him and Aaron Smith, they've obviously got 2 really good directors of the game. And Freddie, alongside Marty, will add a hell of a lot of experience to that, a real cool, calm head. So I see it as a real positive, JK, having him in that Highlanders mix.
I've got to ask the question, you talked about best form. I understand at Kirsty's wedding there was a silent disco. There has been footage released to the public of you dancing with a headset on. Can you please explain? And what in the world were you listening to?
What I was listening to, my memory sort of escapes me a little bit there, Goldie, but it was good. Oh. It was good, I can tell you that. We were all in our own little bubble, safe zone. I am a little bit disappointed that footage has been leaked because,
you leaked
2
it.
left feet. And even when I've had a couple of Central Otago Pinos and a couple of Jimmy Spates, it doesn't get any better, Goldie. I think in my head, I feel like it does, but it just doesn't.
All I can tell you now is the Breakdown Nation have seen it, and they're proud of you for your effort. That's as far as we'll go. Mate, look forward to seeing you through the season. Look after yourself, recover, bring on next weekend.
God loves a try, Goldie, and get up the landers.
The Southland two-step, the Dunedin two-step going well there for Israel Dagg and Mills Mulioyina. What do you like or don't like? Or JK under his breath whispered they've got no chance. Taylor, I mean, you look at the squad and he talked about the fact that they're going to need things to go their way.
Oh, he said they're going to need a whole lot of luck. And look, they have some really good individual players. Marino Mikaele-Tu'u was probably one of my favourite number 8s off the back of the scrum, very dangerous. You've got the Frizzels and the Aaron Smiths as well. But one thing that doesn't look so certain is their backline. Last year, they were just littered with injuries, and then it was just chopping and changing who plays where. And so there isn't really any fluidity or any certainty going into this season. You know, Sam Gilbert went from being a winger to a first 5, now he's playing fullback. So I think the cohesion probably will be a bit of an issue for the Highlanders this year.
I'm not going to let you talk about my Highland, Sir John Koeman, because you'll have nothing good to say. And so we're going to leave it until next week when this game has been played, and we're going to move on to Wellington and to the Hurricanes and what's in store for them in 2023.
An unfortunate quarter-final slip in Canberra ended an exciting season for the Hurricanes last year. Ardie Savea will lead a young side full of form players like Tyrell Lomax, Peter Lakai and Ruben Love. TJ Perenara will miss the early rounds at least, leaving a new halves combo in Cam Roigard and Brett Cameron to steer the ship. The Hurricanes will have to beat the heat with a 2-week trip to Australia to begin their campaign, with stops in Brisbane and Melbourne.
Let's go up front. Let's talk to Ben Castle. Let's talk about the Hurricanes. Ben, we've seen this squad, difficult year last year, still made the playoffs easily. Can they be better this year? Have they got the players to contend for a title?
Yeah, g'day, Deb. I think they absolutely do. I'll just have to put a disclaimer in there first, though. I don't want to hop off the plane being part of the Chiefs alumni when I hop off the plane in Hamilton and fear for my life. So talking about the Hurricanes here over the Chiefs, I've just got to be careful about this. But absolutely, the Hurricanes can. I think their group's a year older, especially in that forward pack. I think they'll be able to really leverage the fact that Wellington won that NPC. So they've got players now that have learnt how to win now. So there's a group there that have matured slightly. And up front, where the Hurricanes probably haven't been the strongest through the last, I guess, 5 or so years, now that's an area they can really focus on. The likes of Lomax in there, Armour, Coles backing up, Owen Franks is in that mix, Dominic Bird. There's a forward pack that is going to take some beating.
Ben, you talk about the forward pack, and we can talk about that all day, you and I, but let's talk about the backs, because you won 6 games last year, and a lot of people centred that around the game drivers, around not really having a solidified 9 and 10 combo, and poor Jackson Garden Bashett often copped it quite a bit. Who is 10 this year? Is it Ruben Love?
It's a really good question. You're right. I mean, the Hurricanes, they were 1 from 5 early on, but they got a bit of groove back, but they did mix around who was in that 9-10. Look, there's an injury cloud on Brett Cameron at the moment. Ruben Love, there's an injury cloud as well. So that leaves young Aidan Morgan, really, who is the fit player in that 10 squad. I watched the Hurricanes beat the Crusaders on Friday night in Levin in their last pre-season, and Morgan was in that seat with Jamie Booth. So I would say that is the 9 and 10 that has to start, simply because there are injury clouds there. But that is a focus area when you think of the TJ Perenara and Beauden Barrett days and the forward pack that was weak. It's really flipped around. So that will be an area of huge focus for the Hurricanes. It has to be. Who wears that 10 jersey? It's a great question, and we'll know when they head across the ditch in their first game against the Reds.
We'll find out. We'll find out certainly who's going to do it through the latter part of the season. Geordie Barrett looks he's going to play at 12, but you've talked up the forward pack. We're looking forward to seeing whether they front now. The expectations are on them. We can't wait to hear your commentary the course of the season. We'll see you soon, mate. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Righto, JK. When you've got Geordie Barrett and Ardie Savea, arguably the 2 best players in the last 2 years, if they're fit and available, they're dangerous, right?
No.
No, they're not dangerous either. Do you give anyone else a chance?
No, I'm just saying. And who is Naduko? Like, where's that come from? From the Eels? That just come out of the blue, has it?
That's
cheating?
why they're flying under the radar. That's not cheating. I mean, you're making accusations
You're looking for
already.
anything.
No,
Seriously.
Listen. You know how much I love Ardie Savea. I think he's been the player of the year for the last 3 years. Keeps getting better year after year, and their forward pack is dangerous. But settling on a 9 and 10, you know, you talk about it every week. If you want your football team to win, you've got to have a solid 9 and 10. So tell me what they're doing there. No use having Geordie Barrett at 12 unless they're going to settle on a 9 and 10. You know, TJ was outstanding last year when he came back to New Zealand. He's a strong leader. He'll be a big part of it. But it's experience under pressure from your 9 and 10 that you need to drive around the field when you're under the pump.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing this Hurricanes team, because they've got some really good young players coming through. Obviously, Ruben Love didn't play too much last year. I really want to see him play, but Peter Lakai is someone that I think everyone needs to keep their eye out on. He was outstanding for the Lions, and the success of the Lions, I think, is going to translate into this Hurricanes team. I watched their pre-season games and they looked good.
They're talking about Ruben Love as the next All Black 10, so does he play 10 for the Canes?
Well, no, I think that was the coach of the Hurricanes, Jason Holland, saying he should be in the All Blacks, and your coach should do that, because I tell you what, he's a serious talent, but to your point, it's where he plays and how he goes about it. Looking forward as well to seeing the Hurricanes. I like what their starting lineup is all about. Well, the Chiefs, they're a side that know how to win titles. Last year they were semi-finalists. What's in store for them in 2023?
The Chiefs slumped at the semi-finals last year, a game they dominated but failed to deliver the victory. The return of missing cogs to their backline and D-Mac and ALB could make a huge difference. Injury setbacks for Angus Ta'avao and Quinn Tupaia will be hard to replace. Samisoni Tokiaho and Sean Stevenson's exciting form, plus a healthy Guzzler in his final season in the Chiefs' engine room, will make for a formidable side this season.
I'll tell you what, a lot of people are picking the Chiefs to win a Super Rugby Pacific title. Angus Ta'avao, he's still inside the Chiefs. He's all chiefed up right there. Tell us why. How's it going to happen? What are you going to do? What's different about this year?
Oh, mate, how much time do I have? Seriously, because I can rattle on for a couple of hours, but, you know, for what we've got, I'll start with our depth. You know, probably got more depth in the Mariana Trench, some are saying. That depth obviously leads to competitiveness, it leads to growth, and it leads to life, you know. So you look at our squad, I'll rattle through. You know, Props have got a great mix of young players. We've got John Ryan coming through, an Irish favourite down in Munsterland. You know, I'm injured at the moment, so he's coming in for that. Hookers, all world class. Samisoni Taukeiaho, probably one of the best hookers in the world at the moment. We've got more locks in the Les Mills changing room. You know, Manaki Selby Rickett, let's play cricket. He's come up from Highlanders country. Some locks are having to play six, mate. That's just what's going on at the moment. But it's breeding that competitive ground. Our Lucy's are looking sweeter than a candy cane. You know, Peter Gasol-Akula, Luke Jacobson. I don't want to drop names because I might leave some out. You know, there's so many great players. Nines, fiery, small, but great hearts. Obviously, Brad Weber, Cortez Atima, Titoro Tahuriorangi's back, covering for Xavier Rowe. Our tens, guess who's back? Back again. D-Mac, Big Mac, Mac Attack, Mac from the back to the whack on the stat back. You know, there's options there. Brent Gatlin, Josh Ioane. Mate, I can go on. Our midfield, tantalising mix of skill and bravery and courage and mana. Antoinette Brown, Quinn Tupaia's out, but Alex Nankiville's there. Poi Hippie. There's options. And then our outside backs. I'd say the best speed in the league and in the game at the moment. Etienne Nanai Saturo. Solomon Alamalo's back in the mix. You've got this great young bunch of players. Sean Stevenson's been on fire since the end of last year. Wasn't even picked in the New Zealand 15. He went in there. Next thing, he's one of the best in the game, everyone's saying, you know. Dolphins try to take it for league. No. Chiefs will take it back for this year. So, mate, you know, I'm rattling on here a little bit, but I'm excited about this year. And we've been growing nicely the last couple of years. Lost the final in the Aotearoa a couple of years ago. Lost it in the semi-final last year to the Crusaders, eventual champions. Put on a good show down there. And, mate, you know, it's a last ride for a couple of heroes of our team, you know. So we'll try and send them out really well, and it's going to be tough, but, you know, I'm back in the Chiefs. I'm back in the money.
Mate, that's some hype reel. Right there, that's a hype reel for the Chiefs. I don't need to hear anything more. We're looking forward to seeing you in Hamilton. We're looking forward to having you with us at Sky during the course of the year. It's game on. Thanks, Gus. We'll see you soon. Cheers, champ. The opposite of every prop I've ever known. That man right there, and he did it beautifully. So John Coohan writing off everyone right now. I believe the Chiefs are contenders. Taylor, do you think the Chiefs are contenders?
Oh, absolutely. Look, I'm heavily invested in this as a King Country proud woman. But look, I think if the Chiefs can stay uninjured, they are real title contenders right there. You just look at everyone across the park, even their preseason games. Etienne Nanai Saturo in electric form. Sean Stevenson off the back of the end-of-year tours last year. I think they're real title contenders if they can stay there.
They're always title contenders. And I think with D-Mac back, having that X factor that you've got, you wouldn't want to write them off. And I think that the extra World Cup bonus of being selected for someone like D-Mac. So where does he play? Does he play at 10? Does he play at 15? Are they going to use him in his impact? You can't leave him off the field when you talk about the Chiefs. So they're always contenders. I think they've had some great recruitment, and they were good last year, but they had lots of injuries. So stay injury-free, hard to beat.
Look, a number of players are heading offshore. This is the last go-around, I would say, for Brodie Retallick. We shouldn't forget that, and he has been a great chief, and his impact he will have on this group, and they do have so many world-class locks. So you start talking about depth, you start talking about the set piece and their ability to deliver. They have been there and tasted success. I think in some ways for me, and we haven't talked about the defending champions just yet, but I look at this group and they've got the makings of a champion side. We're going to talk to you, Taylor, now about your champion side, though, at Mount Smart Stadium, and it's the Moana Pacifica team. This is year 2 in a competition. What can they do better this year? Are they a playoff contender?
Well, look, they want to be a playoff contender team. That is what Aaron Major has been saying to them. Look, you're a top 8 side this year. And I think, you look at last year, for a first team in the competition, to beat the Hurricanes just on your 3rd ever match, and then also to take down the Brumbies just before they went into the, the quarterfinals and costing them a home semi-final. But there's just less distractions for them this year. They know what it's like to be professional athletes now. Last year, around 20 of them had never played Super Rugby. Now they've played a full season. 27 of them went and played for Samoa and Tonga, so there's no excuse around lacking experience.
Yeah, knocking on the bottom of the top 8, I think, is a realistic goal. Yep. They had a horrible run of luck last year with COVID. They didn't get off to a good start. I think momentum is really, really important for Moana Pacifica. They can't wait till round 5 to get a good win. They've got to come out of the blocks, get some confidence, and if they do, you're not going to want to come to Mount Smart and play them.
And the draw is actually kind to them. We spoke at how tough the Highlanders, first few games are. It's just New Zealand team after New Zealand team. Well, they start with the draw at Mount Smart. They play the Chiefs at Super Round, but then they've got 2 Australian teams and the Force, and then the Brumbies. So it's a lot easier than last year because it was a baptism by fire. It's welcome to Super Rugby, play all the New Zealand teams. That's difficult for anyone. So, look, it's going to be a good game against the Drua, and hey, they're giving away a trip to Fiji as well, so make sure you head on down.
Are we eligible? That's why you get down there, a trip to Fiji. Look, we've got one team to talk about, and we're going to leave that until after the break, the defending champion Crusaders. But there's more to talk about their environment as well. But first, we're going to make our predictions through the course of the next few weeks. But we asked some of the Super Rugby players, some of the stars, to make theirs to the 2023 season.
Hey guys, Ari Savia here.
And I'm predicting the results of the 2023 Super season.
So, here we go.
Okay. Of course, you got to start with the Blues on top.
Easy choice, I'd go the Hurricanes.
No-brainer, Chiefs. No questions asked. I think first, Crusaders. It's going to take a lot to break that streak, that's for sure.
Well, they're going to play the Highlanders in the final at Forsyth Bar. Book a ticket now.
The Blues. A lot of my good mates at the Blues, so I'm just picking the Blues because of that.
Pay my respects, I think it'll be the Crusaders. They're not the 20,000-time champions for nothing. Yeah, there's only my opinion, and no one hate me after this.
A bit of an upsetty one. The Brumbies, always hard to play at home.
The Brumbies last few years have been a great side.
I've got to go Brumbies, just because they're the Hurricanes bogey team.
Who do I like less?
These two could be anywhere. Any of these could be anywhere.
The Canes will be my bolter. I feel like the Hurricanes will squeeze in to 3rd.
6 will be the Waratahs. They're the underdogs, I think.
Number 3, I'm going to go Moana Pacifica. And number 4, Fiji and Drua.
Fiji. That's going to be my bolter for this year.
The boys that played the Fiji and Drua last year in Fiji East, it was one of the toughest games they've ever played.
Finally, the Landers. They always find a way to make the 8, and then they just, come finals time, they'll upset everyone. 1 year of Super Rugby, and that's all I know.
Crusaders, 12.
I'm just going to go that one. Put them there. I'm going to go, so I don't really care.
Hey, Razor Ray. How are you, brother?
Good, welcome to my hood.
It's good to be in the summer, mate. Haven't quite turned on the sun.
In the village. Oh, mate, this is tropical, at least 23, 24 degrees.
The sun's smart, looks strong.
Yeah,
I like the hat, mate. It's a good look on you.
Yeah, thank
Pull
you.
it off. Hey, look, I know you're probably sitting on a bit of an edge wondering where we're going to go with this interview, but I thought, we need to get the elephant out of the room. You're thinking it, I'm thinking it. So if you don't mind addressing it, just address it.
The wee elephant in the room.
Yeah.
Hey. There is an elephant in the room. Well, someone else will address that, I reckon. Hopefully very shortly.
Oh, perfect response.
Good start, Joey.
Yeah, we're going to get to the Crusaders as we start talking about Super Rugby Pacific and the build-up. It is coming, but to the elephant in the room. What, by the way, what hat would you wear?
Massive elephant. Massive.
That's massive. What hat would you wear, though, on the carpool karaoke? What would you go with?
Oh, I'd go with something a little bit better than those.
Oh, really? Throwing out an accusation.
Bit of a stencil.
He's wearing Crocs at the moment, so I'm expecting an outrageous hat.
They can't throw the elephant in the back seat because this is a conversation that is going to get on until we get clarity, Sir John Common. So what is it, John Common, what do you want to know?
I've got 5 questions. I'm going to read them out because I think they're really important to discuss. What's the recommendation and who made it? So is it pre-World Cup or post? Who's picking the new coach? And I've got in brackets, just go and get Wayne Smith to do it. Is the decision that they make going to affect the players? And the players have already come out and said, yes, it's a distraction. And if it's a distraction, can we win the World Cup? And my answer is no. And the last one and the biggest one is, actually, are we all in the same waka? And I know Dame Patsy Reedy's coming in, and one of her biggest jobs, I believe, is making sure that we're all on the same waka to win the World Cup, because I just don't feel we are at the moment. So, Taylor, for you, what is the big question that needs answering?
I think the silence is deafening, to be fair. They're just so quiet on what is happening. There's the processes. What is the process? When are they going to make a decision? All of those questions haven't been answered, and then you're just fueling the fire when it comes to the press. Every single press conference, whether it's the Crusaders, Blues, Chiefs, Hurricanes, everyone's asking, who do you think's going to have the All Blacks job? And it's distracting not only for the Crusaders, for Razor, for everyone, for Fozzie. It's just like, give us an answer. What's the process?
I know he's going to try and put me on the spot, so I'm not going to put you on the spot. Why? So, what about Ian Foster?
What about Ian Foster?
What does he say or what does he do?
Well, the most important thing here are the conversations, clearly, that need to be had between New Zealand Rugby, between the board of New Zealand Rugby, between Ian Foster and the people who are going to be contenders going forward. So there's no doubt that Razor's going to be one of those coaches. There's already been talk about Jamie Joseph and Tony Brown. There's another player in the mix here that, if he wanted the job, would we look at Joe Schmidt? If he put his hand up after being involved with the All Blacks and go, you know what, I might want to go on my own. And you've still got Jason Ryan in the mix. So there's so many conversations. The key thing for me, and you've talked about it, is the fact if we are going to win a Rugby World Cup, and Taylor, we know how hard it is to win. How long did it take us to get it right to win in 2011 and 2015? We have to decide what our course of action is. Is it to a point now or later, sooner rather than later, so the important conversations can be had so that all of a sudden everyone knows their role in getting this team, and we want to win a Rugby World Cup. If we are divided, I can't see any way.
Do you want me to answer that?
Win. I will let Taylor go because I know that you want to go. Taylor, you go first. Do you see a way right now, the way things sit, that we can go on and win a Rugby World Cup?
No, if we don't end the speculation, no, because it's so distracting for everyone. There's so much speculation about what's going on, and the biggest thing is we're talking about the World Cup, but everyone else here is asking about who the coach is going to be. We're in a World Cup year, and we're not thinking who's going to make the team. It's who's going to coach the team, and that is a huge distraction and a red flag.
I would say this. We're not doing it pre-World Cup, but we will decide within a month afterwards. You've got great coaches like Razor Rods. Start treating the coaches like you do the players. Pay him enough to stay. Pay him enough so he can't leave. That's what we do to our top All Blacks, right? We don't want to lose him. I think the argument of wanting to do it pre-World Cup came from the last World Cup where the New Zealand Rugby Union felt they lost some coaches. But there's only one job available at the moment, and that's sort of up in the air, and that's the Scotland job, right? So I don't think that the risk is out there to lose those coaches to other nations. Jamie's already in Japan. He's had great international experience. If I was Ian Foster, I'd just come out and say, if I win the World Cup, I'd like to stand again. Wouldn't you?
Well, that's entirely his choice. But the most important thing is that everyone needs to, in some ways, accept some responsibility, but also maybe accept that they've made the odd mistake along the way, because we all make those mistakes.
Yep.
And what you can't have, and I don't see us being successful with people who have a chip on their shoulder in some way, shape or form, with the fact that they're not talking in a positive mindset about how do we prepare a team where the biggest influence you can have on the game in a country is by winning its biggest prize. And so I look at this and go, we actually need to release the shackles and we need to bring everyone together. I don't know how easy that's going to be. And for Ian Foster, clearly a difficult and challenging time.
So you're saying that all parties have made mistakes, they should fess up, sit in a room and sort it out?
I think in any organisation,
no, I agree with
the way
that.
you go forward as players. Hold on, you do a review. We love a review, don't we, Taylor?
Yeah. I'm not doing another review.
No, we're not doing it. But when you put up your hand,
there's no way we're doing another review.
Yeah.
We did them last year.
Yeah, I just think there just needs to be clarity, as everyone said. But I do like the comment that you made around, treating those coaches like they're players. The coaches, the players have sabbaticals. Why don't we just let Razor go coach Fiji, for the World Cup and come back?
What you can't do, though, Taylor, what you can't do is deny what Scott Robertson has done with the Crusaders and the success they have had. And they are looking, believe this, they are looking for their 7th straight title.
6 titles on the trot for the Crusaders, and this season will be their greatest challenge yet. It begins with a brutal stretch through the first 5 weeks, clashing with the Highlanders, Blues and Brumbies. The whole gang, though, is back fit, healthy and vying for seats on the plane to France. Whanganuku, Blackadder and Goodhue will need big seasons in the red and black. The big question looming in the Garden City, will this be the last dance of Super Rugby's longest dynasty? Or will we have one more encore of Ooh Ah Razor Ray?
Yeah, we've been talking about coaching and we've left the defending champions to last. And they know how to win. Justin Marshall knows how to win titles in Super Rugby. Marshy, before we talk about this year in regards to the personnel and how they might win, let's address that coaching saga that's maybe going to be ongoing. How do you think Razor will keep it about the Crusaders in camp?
Yeah, it's very valid, Jeff. I certainly feel that what Razor's very good at is he's creating and formulating a culture that revolves around making sure the team is first and the Crusaders' history is first. And I think, obviously, there are individuals out there that will be looking to impress the All Black selectors equally. Razor's future is very much under the spotlight at the moment. But preservation of the Crusaders' history and enhancing that history is always at the forefront of his thinking. So I think he'll be able to do that quite easily by just moving on and saying, hey, this is another opportunity to make new Crusaders that come into the environment, as well as this team, set its pathway in history, and it'll be very much their focus, I'm sure.
Marshy, really hard to find any Crusaders side with some issues, but is your old position probably their weakness this year?
Yeah, JK, obviously it's when you lose a quality player, a point of focus, and losing Bryn Hall to Japan, the Crusaders have to fill that void. And when you think about it, like Mitchell Drummond has been such a great servant for them, but when it come down to the crunch games, really, Bryn Hall was the player that Scott Robertson went to when he needed him for the crunch games. So I certainly feel that bringing a player like Willie Hines back into the mix, who was so very good in the Bunnings NPC, and then equally, I think you've got the backup of Mitch Drummond and then some young talent coming out of Tasman as well. Look, they're well served in that area. I certainly feel also when you've got good playmakers around you, like Havili, like Moanga, you're well served and you've got great experience. So whilst it's a bit of a gap that they would rather not have, I think they can fill that spot, no problem.
Justin, you touched on experience and the Crusaders are oozing of it, 6 titles in a row. Is pressure even a thing to them anymore? Every team goes out there, they want to beat the Crusaders. You could almost say they've got 5 rivals in New Zealand, all those other teams based here. How do they attack each season and still stay on top of their game?
Yeah, look, Taylor, I certainly feel it's all about the Crusaders working from campaign to campaign. It's always been a big part of what they do. And whilst they are incredibly proud of the history that they're formulating, it's easy to get grounded again because they go back to the ethos, they go back to their culture, which is work hard, play for each other, and make sure that jersey that has taken a bit of time to this legacy, that when you put it on, this team sets its own benchmark. And certainly other teams will be watching them, other teams will be wanting to knocked them off their pedestal, and teams have shown that they've been able to do that recently, and they've shown some vulnerability. They had to play a final away against the Blues, but that just adds to their DNA. That's what motivates these players, and having that core group of experience, bringing key players back, bring Moody back into the mix will be super motivated. Bring Jack Goodhue into it, Ethan Blackadder, guys that are not only looking to want to be Crusaders again, they're also wanting to be All Blacks. I think they've got a mix of youth, experience, talent, and then that, I guess, that inevitability of teams coming up against them going, man, these guys know how to win.
Marshy, pure and simply, I know you'll take them against anybody, any day. Pure and simple, and I knew there was a jersey somewhere, and that's how quickly we're going to get out. We are done. It's on, and we know exactly who Justin Marshall is in behind. Cheers, mate. And was it, I suppose, look at that. Oh, is that a winner's medal?
Look, I could only find 2 of them, Goldie. This is what they look like. I couldn't find the other 3. They're rattling around at home somewhere. But
definitely improved.
Champion. Thanks, mate. See you in the season. I'll tell you what he does. He uses those as golf markers, and he's playing golf. That's how he marks his ball on the green.
Yeah.
Runs around with these titles.
Who has their championship medals on a string?
On a string. That's where he found them. I'm going to ask you straight away, Sir John Kerwin. This is the last go-around with Richie Mo'unga as their first 5 years heading overseas. You think about influence.
I don't even want to talk about it.
What do you mean you don't want to talk about it?
I don't even want to talk about it.
Because this is...
Why are we losing Richie Mo'unga and possibly Bowden Barrett? I mean, I would love to ask the NZRU contracts what the hell is going on. This kid should be paid as much as he needs to stay. Are we kidding ourselves? And possibly Barrett leaving as well next year. So we're going to be thrown in this deep hole. We need to win the World Cup so that we can give ourselves a couple of years to recover.
Yeah. Well, 2 key names that I saw on their ins and outs list, though, were Taha Kamara and Noah Hotham, because the Crusaders have the best talent ID in the country. That's no secret. They seem to find everyone that, you look at some of the players that get discarded from other areas, they come to the Crusaders and they just excel. But those 2 were the championship winners for Hamilton Boys High School. They've played together. They've got that really good synergy, and they are 2 special talents. So I think long-term, 5 years' time, that is your key pairing.
If I look at that group, I look at the legacy, I look at their experience, bottom line, they're a champion side. And any team that's going to knock them off, I'll tell you what, they're going to have to be very, very good. Well, we've got more to talk about after the break, and it's time to talk Six Nations, the coaching roundabout at international rugby. I think you could even get a job again, Sir John Kerwin coaching. Well, maybe that's going one step too far. We'll talk about all of that after the break. I do not think I have ever been as engaged in the Six Nations as I am right now. And of course, it's a Rugby World Cup year and you want to keep an eye on the opposition, but there's something about this, Taylor, right now which is capturing their imagination.
Oh, it takes a lot to get me up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday morning, but that's what I've been doing because...
Solid disco? Solid disco?
maybe not like those guys, but look, the competition has been outstanding. And it's because you don't know who's going to win. Each week there's a different team and, some people play better than others, but gone are the days where your backline is standing out there getting hypothermia, in that competition, because it used to just be relying on your big burly forwards. Now there's some incredible rugby being played, enterprising rugby too, and it's really enjoyable. And as you say, it's a Rugby World Cup year and the best teams in the world are currently playing in the Northern Hemisphere.
Yeah, 1 and 2 in the world. There's periods of play where it's like it used to be. I was watching the Scottish game, and it was horrible. They were trying to get dominance with the kicking, but I blame our rules for that. Right, and that's something that we need to change. But when you see them play at their best, this was an amazing try.
This is you, 1987, Sir John Kirwan against Italy.
Guy's way better.
You're way faster.
He tackles.
He got touched, actually.
Yeah.
But you're right.
Yeah, but look, the Irish have this incredible pattern of play where they hang on to the ball. They frustrated us when they came down here. They frustrate the opposition. They've got one weakness heading towards the World Cup. They'll go in as number one, and Sexton, who's their complete strength, but if he gets injured, they're in trouble. I think France have a beautiful balance and they play a nice style. Wales, poor old Gats, has walked into an...
Well, you talk about a distraction, Taylor.
It's the
distraction.
coaching,
They're talking about
changes.
striking in the World Cup here. Seriously? I mean, it couldn't get any worse. A terrible start. I mean, what can he recover here?
There's so much uncertainty with the Welsh contracts, you know, and it does affect the way you play. Look, you're not going to put your head in a dark place in a game knowing that you don't know what your future looks like. So are you going to get covered by insurance? You know, you're going to end your career because you're trying your hardest, but you've got no certainty around your contracts, and you don't want to obviously get paid less because, look, I think it's a real tough situation in Wales.
Well, one of the things we talk about in the workplace is psychological safety, right? And you need to feel cared for, trusted, and you need to be compensated correctly.
Yeah.
And when we talked about our team not being on the same waka, you've got to have all those things. So Wales are broken right through, and it's really highlighting the administration of our game. You know, this should not be happening. You should not have a majority of your team worrying about your contracts. They have no chance at the World Cup. You can't recover. I'd write them off.
You can't write off Scotland. Two really impressive performances to start this campaign. Look at Wayne Pivac's, what he's had to go through, but they've made changes, they've made coaches changes. Eddie Jones is gone. England still haven't found their feet. But you can't sleep on Scotland. And guess what? They're on our side of the draw again as well. So all of a sudden, I think 5 top teams are going into, they're in the pool with Ireland and France. I mean, this is significant.
Yeah, I mean, we're just seeing Gaddy on the screen there. Like, he's got a lot of work to do. But coaches, it's starting to turn like soccer, right? So coaches are getting sacked. We see poor old Dave Rennie there, which, you know, comes back to our coaches' discussion. But getting to Scotland, so you were over there in November, and besides the first 20 minutes, they just went for it, Taylor, and they see that they're growing with confidence. They're starting to get a style that suits them.
Yeah, well, Ireland, Scotland, France, they've had settled coaching groups and they've got a settled playing group as well, and that's really key. You know, we're looking at people like Eddie Jones, the New Zealands, the Australias, England, all of us are struggling to find some fluidity in coaching groups and then even on the field, because it does translate. You got one coach coming in, they're going to change the game plan, and it's really hard to learn a game plan like that.
Are France still favourites?
They didn't. What about Italy? You didn't talk about Italy, mate. The most improved rugby team in the world now is Kieran Crowley's Italy.
They are.
Is that a statement?
That's a statement.
That's a statement?
They pushed France. They really pushed them. And I actually got up to watch them play England because I thought, could they do this? Because of how well they've been playing. So, yes, Italy deserve their flowers.
And then England bored them to death, so they got bored.
We've got a super rugby tipping competition once again. So, team, when you think about what's happening this weekend, where do we see some of the results? JK, do you have any issues with your side going down to Dunedin week 1? Can you get surprised by those Highlanders, my Highlanders?
No.
No, he can't. All right, fair enough. He's not going to tip anything.
It's O-Week. There's a lot of support down there. You've got to take that into consideration.
I've got to go now. If you're wondering why we haven't spoken about Super Rugby Aupiki, it's because the women's game is a new show that is starting this week on Wednesday night, and this is a huge step forward for covering the game in this country.
Oh, absolutely. Look, people asked for it. They said we want more coverage, and we've given you a whole show. You got Laura McGoldrick up doing this week. It's Ruby Tui and Ruahei Demant on the couch, and why would you not want to hear from those Rugby World Cup winners? And I think this Aupiki competition is going to be very tight. You know, I thought Matatu were strong contenders. The Hurricane Poa demolished them in the weekend. I think Chiefs Manawa, though, I'm going to go Chiefs back-to-back. I'm going to go them, and then also the men's.
So who's on the show this week?
Ruahei Demant and Ruby Tui.
And Ruby Tui with Laura McGoldrick. I think it's going to be fantastic. I watched the game down in Pukekohe, the pre-season. Great to have the Waratahs over here. They showed some real fight as well. I think it really proved that we can have that Trans-Tasman competition because it was really close and they actually really hurt themselves, the Waratahs. They dominated the Blues in every stat, but they just couldn't win a line-out. Chiefs or Crusaders? What a great way to start this competition. Clearly Chiefs.
Oh.
Everything's so painful when we talk about any other side than the Blues. I mean,
I hadn't thought about it.
seriously. Moana Pacifica, Fiji and Drua?
Moana Pacifica.
Moana Pacifica. I'm thinking that. Oh, Hurricanes, Reds?
Hurricanes. Hurricanes.
I was over there last week. It was 40 degrees.
Yeah.
It was 40 degrees.
Take
Seriously?
some water, lads.
Oh, I tell you what. I mean, we can't take for granted the fact that all of a sudden it feels like a little bit of normal for this competition. Last year, the teams were based in Queenstown. We're finally getting to start. I cannot absolutely wait. Remembering it's a Rugby World Cup year, there's still too much more drama to be had as well. Look, I know, JK, do you want a wee side bet? Highlanders, Blues?
Easy.
Hey?
Easy. What
I'll
do you
take
want,
it everywhere. Come on now. Just a nice bottle of red, as we always do. There's a side bet on there. Make sure if you want to replay the show, we're on Sky Go. You can see us on YouTube and allblacks.com. Thanks, Taylor. That's Sir John Kerwin. Well done, the Breakers as well. Up the Breakers, going to the finals.
Good.
We'll see you next week.
Russell out the back of the net. Kyle Steyn scores. Luby Palatau trying to get over the ball. It's Ben Russell. It's over the top.